Okay, so she was a very eminent poet, Kamla Das. Then let me tell you another truth, another fact about her as a writer. She actually started writing professionally only after getting married and achieving motherhood. So you can see she was at once living the life of, a daughter, a wife, and a mother. And now she's looking for an identity to express herself as a unique person, a person with quality, a poet at that. There's a very beautiful poem by Kamla Das. It's called An Introduction. If you have time, please go through the poem because that tells a lot about her own life, her struggles to introduce or rather to identify herself as a woman. It's a very, very lovely poem. Anyways, skipping these things apart, let us come to the main point. She was born in the year 1934 and she died in the year 2009. That's very recently. And during this short period of time that she existed, she had written a lot of good works. The Old Playhouse and Other Stories, The Summer at Calcutta, and many others. We will discuss that in a later class, but then today let us focus on the poem that we are about to start with, My Mother at 66. So let us first go through the poem and try to understand. This poem is written in free verse. I suppose all of you know what a free verse is. A free verse is that style or that genre of writing where you don't apply any restricted mode, or rather you don't have any restrictions on style, technique, or rhyme scheme. You won't find any punctuation mark, any stop, and from the beginning till the end you would realize that it is written in a single sentence, a single thread of thought that passes through the mind of the poet. We can also relate this poem with a stream of consciousness technique. It's a very modern technique that was developed initially seen in the writings of Virginia Woolf. Okay, she used to write how thoughts flick in and flick out of our minds very rapidly. It's called a stream of consciousness technique, the real way how our consciousness work. It's not like you think about this particular thing for 13 minutes and then you think about another thing for the rest of the time. No, our mind is a complex thing and it holds store for so many thoughts come in and thoughts go out, right? So here also you would find the poet trying to cope up with different thoughts at different point of time. Okay, let me read the poem once, then I'll go to the explanation of the same. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, thus open-mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked. But soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. But after the airport's security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." All I did was smile and smile and smile. So well, students, you can see how within this short poem, the few words, very limited words, the poet has told us so much. what thoughts exactly run through her mind throughout the entire course of the journey. By now you might have understood that the poet here, she's undertaking a journey, driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday. She's talking about a particular Friday, a Friday that was a past. Okay, so last Friday she had been driving. Driving means she was riding, taking a ride with her mother in a car. Okay, and where she was traveling? She was traveling from her parents' home to Cochin. Now, why Cochin? Why does she refer to this place, Cochin? Because the airport is situated in Cochin. So she is leaving her parents' home to go to her actual place, which is considered to be the actual place of a woman after marriage, that is her husband's home. And for that, she was traveling in a car last Friday, once upon a time. And it was Friday morning. I saw my mother beside me. Now these words, they imply that there was someone else beside her, and it was her mother. What was her mother doing? She was sitting there, okay, beside the poet. Does. What is the meaning of does now? When you sleep, or rather half asleep, this half asleep state is called tossing, a short sleep. Okay, you can note down the meaning of the word, a short sleep. Now, you might have noticed that very often we tend to fall asleep while we are traveling by car or by vehicle, isn't it? So here the mother, she is an aged lady, so probably exhausted during the journey, and she falls asleep. Does. Open-mouthed. How was she sleeping? She was sleeping with her mouth open. Okay. Have you noticed how elderly people sleep? Very often, they sleep with the mouth open. Why? In order to breathe. Okay, to breathe in. Because they might be having some problem breathing in and out. That's why very often it is noticed that elderly people, old people generally sleep with their mouth open. So here the poet's mother, she was traveling with her daughter to Cochin airport, and during this journey she falls asleep and sleeps open-mouthed. Her face ashen. How did the face look like? It was ashen, like that of a corpse. It was as ashen. What is the meaning of ashen? Something that is grey in color, as grey as ash. When you burn something down, it turns into ash. Have you noticed the color of ash? It's grayish, right? Very pale, grayish, faded kind of a color. Her mother's face looked grey as ash. That is why the reference to this color, ashen, like that of a corpse, just like a corpse. A corpse means a dead body. When a person dies, if you have seen that, after a person's death, gradually the body turns pale, bluish, very faded bluish ashen color. Her mother's face also appeared ashen. It is generally because of old age that people, they lose their charm, their beauty, their pinkish, pink is a color of health. So that color pink, it is missing from her mother's face. She was looking very dull, she was looking grey, ashen, like that of a corpse. It's a reminder to the poet that her mother was actually very, very old. Now, corpse, it also stands for death. It's a an imagery, it's a simile, or you can call a metaphor for that. Why? Because it's a dead body. So as soon as the poet notices her mother sleeping beside her with her mouth open, she also notices that the color of the skin, it has turned ashen as that of a corpse, which means that very soon her mother is also going to die, leave her forever. And it was a painful reflection for the poet. And realized with pain, that is why she realizes, it is a realization that her mother is going to leave her sooner or later. And it is a painful realization, so realized with pain, that she was as old as she looked. She is as old as the corpse. She looks like a corpse, and she is as old as the corpse. Her health is failing her. She is in no good condition. Already 66 years. And generally what happens is that when there are children with you, they are there to take care of you. They are there to look after you. But then once they stay apart from parents also lose interest in enjoying life or looking after themselves. So probably the same was the condition of Kamala Das's mother. She was alone, lonely, no one to take care of her. And that's why her health was failing every day. That glow of life that was missing from her face. So she was old, and this is the reflection that comes to the mind of the poet. But what does the poet does? You see, instead of showing concern, what she does? But soon put that thought away. She tries to flick away the thought that has rushed through her mind just now. She tries to deviate her mind from this painful realization, the thought that her mother would leave her very soon. And looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. What does the poet does now? She's so sad that she could not have that much of courage to face the reality, or maybe to interact with the reality that indeed her mother was sick. She needed company now. So what she does? She looks out of the car's window. And once she looks out, what does she? She notices certain things. The first is she sees young trees sprinting. What is the meaning of sprinting? I suppose you know. Sprinting means rushing fast or passing by fast, running fast. Now, who are running here? The young trees. The young trees here have been mentioned to be running, as if the trees were human, as if the trees had life and vitality and strength and vigor to run very fast against the movement of the vehicle. I am very sure you have noticed that when you are traveling or moving in a vehicle, you notice that the trees and bushes, whatever is beside the car, beside the road, by the road, you see them passing by you fast. Yes? So this is the image that the poet is trying to bring across to us, present us. Okay? And why? What is the implication behind these words or this imagery? Why has she brought in the image of young trees sprinting? There are several implications. First of all, the trees are referred to as young. So young trees, they are a symbol of youth, vigor, energy, and life. First of all. Secondly, the movement in the contrary direction. It is a suggestion that life is going on, time is moving on. age is passing by. Okay, as time moves on, you grow older, you start aging. So aging as a natural phenomena that has been presented through this imagery. The inconstancy of time as not fixed. It is not fixed, it keeps on moving by, right? And secondly, that trees, these are a symbol of life, vitality, energy, strength, okay, youth. So all these combined together in this imagery, in this picture of the young trees sprinting. The merry children spilling out of their homes. Talking about, there is another side that catches the eyes of our poet. She also notices that it is not only the trees that are sprinting by, it is also the children who are running out of their homes. You know, young children, once again, children again, just like young trees, they are also representatives of youth, innocence, childhood, okay? And it is somewhere or the other, it is also a reminder that the poet's mother was also a young girl once upon a time. She was also a child. Similarly, the poet herself, she was also a child. But then, see the reality today, she is a grown-up lady, she is married off to a distant place, and her mother, she is so very old. So these two pictures are very important. They are set in contrast against the aging mother. Okay, you have to remember this. The young trees sprinting and the merry children spilling out of their homes. These are two pictures which are used as images of contrasting. Okay, contrasting the poet's aging mother with the youth, or rather with youth, energy, something that is not available in the mother. She is old now. But after the airport's security check, now while she was thinking all this, her mind was engrossed in these thoughts, trying to juggle between life and death, between the reality of old age and death, and the memories of youth and childhood. Okay, she reaches the airport, that is Cochin Airport. And what happens in the airport, you see, after the airport security check, the security check is done. I suppose you know that once you are planning to take a flight, there are a number of formalities that you have to go by. One such formality is the security check. Your luggage would be checked. First of all, it would pass through an X-ray process, okay, and it would be sealed completely and taken into the luggage or maybe into the cabin. Secondly, your whole body, that would be also scrutinized, checked, okay, by the security personnel out there. Now, after having undergone this process of security check, Kamala Das stands at a distance, standing a few yards away. She was, only the people, or rather the passengers who are taking the flight, they are allowed security check. Those people who go with them to see them off, they are asked to stay back in the lounge or the waiting area. Okay, so the mother, she was also waiting in the waiting area because she has come to just see her off. She was waiting there, and from inside the security check, there is a waiting lounge out there, and the passengers, they would be waiting for their respective flights. So she was standing there, and as she stood away, a few yards away from the mother, what she does, I looked again at her. So she turns to look at her mother, okay, and gives a good look. She looks at her from a distance, wan, pale. And how did the mother look? She was looking very wan. Wan means pale, pallid, very hazy, okay, diminished look. pale as a late winter's moon. Have you noticed the sky during the winters? Yes, the late winter's moon. During the winters, generally the moon rises late and the color is very obscure. It's not clear at all. It is hazy, foggy, slightly yellowish in color. Okay, and it lacks brilliance of the summertime moon. The moon loses its natural radiance during the winter. So winter and the late winter's moon are themselves two very important, you can say, images that talks about the failing health of the mother. Winter is one of those seasons that represents human old age. Okay, winter, it is the last stage of the natural cycle of seasons, and similarly old age, it is the last season of a human being's life. There is a connection between winter and old age. Secondly, the late winter's moon. Just like the late winter's moon is faded, cloudy and very hazy in appearance, the poet's mother, her face was also as faded, as pale, as yellowish as the late winter's moon. So earlier we have seen the poet comparing her mother's face with a corpse, ashen like the corpse, and now she's talking about the wan and pale color of the winter's moon. Her mother's face appeared to her to be as pallid, as colorless, as brilliance, lacking brilliance or lustre like the late winter's moon. And what happens once she realizes? Once again she is troubled with that pain of realization and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. So once again she is forced to face this pain, this childhood pain of separation. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." All I did was smile and smile and smile. So her childhood fear. What is the childhood fear? Every child fears separation from their parents, especially the mother. And you might have noticed how small children hold on to the hand of the mother, fearing that they might get lost. Innocent children. The poet, when she was a kid, she had faced that same fear of losing the mother. Now, the same fear, it revives in a different form. She fears that she will lose her mother forever. And it was a really painful realization for the poet. So the ache, it is a familiar ache, something that is known. The ache or the pain that is familiar is known to the poet since her childhood, because it was also her childhood's fear. So she feared losing her as a child. And yet, all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." But she could not say anything. There was no explanation for the same. All she could say was, "See you soon, Amma." There was hope in her eyes. There was there was no way that she could express her sadness. She had to conceal her fear, hide her fear from the mother. So she fakes her words and she says, "See you soon, Amma." Now these words are very, very important. "See you soon, Amma." On one hand, there is a sign of positivity. There is a sign of hope. A hope that she would meet or see her mother again next time she comes here. But at the same time, on the contrary, on the other hand, these words are also an attempt to hide her real fear, the fear that she would lose her mother forever. Her mother might die any moment and she might not be able to meet her again. So you can see how in a very tricky manner she is presenting the paradox of the situation. So these words are very, very paradoxical. All I did was smile and smile and smile. There was nothing she could do because there was no use doing anything. So she kept on smiling and smiling and smiling. Just like the words, here also the smile. It is an attempt from the poet to hide her real feelings, to hide her tears, which we can see as readers. She was crying internally. The pain of separation from her mother, it was killing her inside. And yet she was faking a smile. So this smile acts as a mask. It covers up her real feelings. So very, very important. At the same time, it can also be seen as an attempt to create an environment of positivity, hope, the feeling that it is very possible that next time she comes, she would be able to see her mother again. So in a very paradoxical manner, she presents her real feeling, and the smile, it continues. As you can notice, the last punctuation mark, it's not a full stop, it's an ellipsis. The dots continue, the smile continues until and unless the flight takes off. So you can see how beautifully the poet has presented her expressions, her feelings of fear, or her anxiety about her mother's failing health, the reality of the situation. Can we also see see this attempt, the poet's attempt, as a way to escape from reality? Is he also trying to escape from the reality of the situation that her mother is going to die very soon? Well, that is up to you to conjecture. You please guess what you think about this issue, and very soon we'll be meeting up for our next class. Until then, bye bye.